fix this as quickly as I can, but let's be all honest with each other in this room that it does involve new money.
Deputy Brid Smith, 30 seconds to introduce.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to ask you the same question in a different manner, but I would like you to take an emphasis slightly different to the one that you've taken onto the question of discrimination against women in this, because although this ban changes affects both men and women, there are particular measures of discrimination affecting women who raised their families prior to 1994. And perhaps, Minister, in addressing the question and in making the statement that I've asked for, you might try and explain, because you were part of the previous regime as well, why that date was chosen. Why not 1993 or indeed 1996 or 1990? Could you try and explain to me, was this arbitrary? Was it calculated on the basis of the amount of savings that the state would make because it knew that before 1994 there weren't going to be that many people retiring for the next 20 or 25 years to get us out of the austerity period? So I'm just really asking you the same question with a different emphasis on the issue of discrimination against women who made their homes prior to that date.
Ministers, 2 minutes.
Thanks, Deputy. I want to be able to answer your question properly. So, it's specifically about the homemaker's credit that you're talking about, not about the anomaly. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to just shoot to a supplementary response, because I think that more freely answers the question that you're asking me. So in practice, there are a number of factors that make it impossible to be precise. No, that's not it, I beg your pardon. When the contribution pension was introduced in 1961, a yearly average approach was used for calculating entitlements. As a reckonable social insurance had just been introduced 8 years prior to that, no one would have had the 30 to 40 years of contributions necessary to be paid under a total contributions approach. However, having a yearly average model would allow many people to qualify for a full pension. And with the extension of PRSI over the year, notably to self-employment and farmers in 1988, a total contributions approach can be used from around 2020 without disadvantaging people in those sectors. And they'll have a 30-year window to accumulate what their contributions are. The main difficulty with the yearly average approach is that it's possible for people starting to pay social insurance at a much later life and still qualify for pensions to the maximum rate, and that's not very fair. And that's why the yearly averaging system is going to be changed to hopefully a total contribution model. The reason for the introduction at the time, and I can't tell you it was arbitrary, and I wasn't around obviously, right, but it was to genuinely acknowledge that women do stay at home, and we do take choices to rear our family and to come out of the workforce and to rear our family, and to acknowledge the huge, obviously, service to both the family and the community and society that was introduced at the time. Now, I'm speaking off the top of my head only because I've experience of introducing things since I've become Minister, that you do have to pick a start date. But what I will commit to you, Brid, is that I'm going to go and find the answer to why it was picked. That did we look at different times at the time? So if you can give me some space, I'll come back to you maybe later on today with a specific answer, because I don't know whether it was arbitrary or whether we did pick it for a reason. But I will come back to you on later on today, if that's okay, and I'm sorry that it's not a better answer for you.
First supplementary.
Okay, I accept that you're not going to probably think of it in the same way that I do, but you know, insofar as we have the same thing in common, our gender, on a daily basis we're faced with a barrage of elements of discrimination in this society, the latest being the revisiting of the debacle of, that Joanne Hayes faced in 1984 because of the Kerry babies issue. And the question does jump out at you why it is recognised that women do leave the workforce and rear children for those after 1994, but not for those before. So, as we speak, and as mentioned by other deputies, there are people across the road in Buswells having a press conference. And one of them, a woman from Kildare called Joan McLaughlin, did leave in the 70s to rear her family, and Joan has been very active in Pensioners for Equality, who had the last protest outside the Dáil here. And I quote her from a local newspaper in Kildare, where she comes from, and she says, "It is not about me. I run a B&B and I'm not too badly off, but I am down €55 a week on my old age pension. However," she said, "others are worse off. One lady I was speaking to said when she goes back home, She has to count out the pieces of coal. Imagine in 2018 having to count every piece of coal, and that is the reality for some people. And it is. There are pensioners living in poverty. Many of them are women who are living in poverty because they did the job that was expected of them, and that was to be mothers and to rear their family. Now, I know Regina wants to fix it, and I know Regina will try to fix it, and you're talking about you have to find new money. Remember this, Regina, we're living in an obscene society where the rich list shows that the top 10 in this country accumulated $2 billion last year, and look at the other end of the scale. Can we do something about that anomaly?
The Minister, and a minute is a minute.
Thank you, Count Corley. Deputy Smith, I don't have the answer to what you asked me about before, right? But what I am able to tell you is that when and if we introduce total cons on the 1st of January 2020, which is only a number of years away, whatever credit that we decide during the public consultation model for homemakers, whether it's 15 years or 20 years, will be for any year. So the whole 1994 business will be defunct once the 1st of January 2020 comes. And so I know that doesn't help us today, right? But that's where we're going to get that the 20-year credit will be able to be assigned to any year that you stayed at home. So for the likes of your mother or my mother who doesn't get the 1994 issue, they would in the future once 2020 comes. But I will come back to you on later on today with regard to why it was introduced. But to mention what you've said, there is an issue with fuel poverty in this country. There was a request by Deputy OD to me during the Social Welfare Bill to conduct an inquiry into it with regard any changes that we might be able to make with regard to social transfers. I couldn't take on board that I could do it because it isn't the remit of my department, but I have found a back doorway of being able to do what we were looking to achieve, and I am going to conduct that review in the next couple of weeks with a view to looking seriously at the rates of payment that we pay people for fuel, the length of period that we pay people for fuel, but also to acknowledge that the price of fuel has gone up, and I look forward to working with the Social Welfare Committee on that.
Deputy Smith, 1 minute.
Say to you, Minister, that I do appreciate your positive responses, but they will not be welcomed if you are saying to the pensioners out there that they have to wait to 2020 and that it will only be from 2020 that all of this will be adjusted, because there are very angry, particularly women out there, who are saying, sort it now and backdate it for me. I am not putting up with the loss of €1,500 to €2,000 a year when I'm living in Povertysville. And I would also make the comment in relation to stuff you said earlier, that it may be 42,000 pensioners now who are affected, but it will become hundreds of thousands as they retire unless this is sorted. And it needs to be sorted ASAP. And so finally, I would like to say to those out there who are not even affected by it now, but who will be, get outside the Dáil tomorrow at 12:30 with your brothers and sisters from Age Action Ireland, from the Irish Country Women's Association, from Pensioners for Equality, from the Women's Council. This is important. We had a revolution some years ago when Fianna Fáil attacked the medical cards. Let's have another revolution over the attack on the pensions and stop it happening. And I know the government will respond to that. The more that are outside the Dáil at 12:30 tomorrow, the better outcome for your cabinet meeting.
Minister, 1 minute.
And thanks, Deputy. And I know why you're saying what you're saying, but I hope there's thousands of people outside the door tomorrow, and I'll go down and I'll meet them, and I genuinely do. But I don't need pressure, and I don't feel pressure.
Your colleagues do.
Well, maybe they should feel my pressure, right? So I've already made a commitment.
Sorry, Minister, without interruption. Minister, without interruption, the clock continues to tick.
I've made a commitment. I've recognised the anomaly and how it affected some 42,000 people. You are right. As each year goes by and we don't fix it, there will be another between maybe 8,000 and 10,000 people added to that list. I recognise that it's wrong. I've committed that I'm going to fix it, and I am going to fix it. So, but I welcome people to come outside tomorrow and to express how they feel, and I certainly will listen, but it won't make me sell it any better tomorrow afternoon. I already know exactly what I want and what I hope to achieve.
And Catherine Connolly.